Hi, I'm from Team 4655 and this is our instructional video on how to turn a wild thing into a wheelchair bot for a kid with cerebral palsy or anybody else who would need it. All of the information that you'll need on what materials in that will be in the description for the video. This is how to take your wild thing bot apart. You remove the seat and your inner electronics are right here. Out of the way, and you remove these 3 or 4 screws, and yeah. Okay, so once you open up the plastic piece and take that off, you come to this motherboard, and you want to keep this wire that runs to this button right here on the back, a red button, and you want to get rid of basically everything out of here. Alright, so once you open up the plastic piece, you got to come to this motherboard, and there's this wire that you want to take out of here that runs back to this red button, which you can keep, which you need to keep, and you can get rid of everything else besides this plug-in cable to the battery. You want to keep the battery connector, and yeah, that's pretty much all you need to keep is the battery connector and the wire that runs to the kill switch. Go. So now that we have all the motherboard out, we're going to take and clean up this mess of wires. So get rid of all these tabs in here, and you want to keep this wire off to the side, so move this off to the side, and then you want to take the battery connector out of here, which that'll come right out from one piece, and you want to take the battery holder out of here as well.
Use anything you want to use to take these out of here.
So now that we've taken the motherboard and all that out and all the electronics, we're going to take the wheel off. So I've already pre-taken the screw out. There's a screw underneath the cap that I've taken out already, just Phillips standard, and that comes right off, and then there'll be a washer underneath, so you want to make sure not to lose the washer. Just take the washer off. Then the wheel should come off as one piece. Just pass it away. Wheel should come off. It should sit right down on the table. So then there's 4 or 5 screws. One here, one back here, and there's another one right here underneath there to take out. And then in order to get this plastic off, you got to take this screw and this screw out on the front, these 2 screws, and along with the screws on the bars, so one up here, and then there's actually one down here on the bottom. And once you get that off, you pull it all apart, and it should come off as one piece. So now that we have all the screws out of the bottom here, and the ones out of the front here, and the ones on the bar, you want to take and pull the bar out of the bottom first, and the bar out of the top. It should lift right up, and then this just comes out nice and easy. So now that we have that controller off, we're going to go ahead and put the bar and the black piece back on and put all the screws back up in. Now that we have everything out of here, this back assembled, and everything put where it needs to be, we're ready to start the reassembly of the new wheelchair.
Before we begin, we need to make sure we lay out all of our parts to make sure everything will fit. We have our Raspberry Pi, our fuse box, our relay, which will go right here, our 2 motor controllers, which will be mounted here and here with dual lock, and we need to cut out a hole for our kill switch, which will go here. And all these parts can be bought through a link in the video description.
It's gonna go quick. Check it out. It's big enough. One or two more clicks. Ready? There we go, perfect. Get in there. Alright, cool. Don't go too far.
Next, we're going to push in the 1/4-20 bolt to mount the relay onto the side.
Okay. There we go.
Next, we're going to put the washer and a lock nut on to secure the relay into place. Next, we're going to be cutting our dual lock to mount our Raspberry Pi, our fuse box, and our motor controllers. Now we will apply the dual lock. I am now putting on another piece of dual lock with the sticky part facing up so we can just press fit it right into the machine. Now we're pressing it in. Next, we're going to be drilling a hole on this angled piece here for the kill switch wires so it does not interfere with the internal relay. Now we have the wires passed through for the kill switch to the relay.
We're just going to cut off this yellow wire so that we don't accidentally plug it into the kill switch, because if we do, then it'll be reversed, where instead of pushing it in, killing it, you'll actually have to twist it to kill it, which is what we don't want. We're putting on these connectors onto these wires so that we can plug them into the relay. So we're going to put the ring clamp, we're going to replace this with a ring clamp on the positive side of the battery connector so that we can put it on the input side of the relay. And the way you find out which side is the input side, there's a diagram on the side of it. Next, we put a ring clamp or a ring connector onto a piece of wire that's about 3 feet long. That's going to go from the output side on the relay to the fuse box. Next, we're going to hook up the wires from the kill switch. Blue goes to the power side and green goes to the switch side. Next, what you need to do is strip the wires on the motor controller and on the wires coming from the motor, and then you need to connect these wires positive to positive, negative to negative. Next, you're going to strip the other end of the motor controller and put ring connectors onto it, and then that will eventually go onto the fuse box. Next, we're going to plug in the motor controllers into the fuse box, and the way you want to do it is positive to positive, ground to ground.
It's too fat.
So the way the relay is worked is you've got it coming from the battery down into the relay on the input, which then goes in
to the relay, which then goes over to the switch, and then the switch then goes to the fuse box, and then it also power comes from the battery to the fuse box and then comes out back to the battery. It's important to note that you have your switch right, so if you don't use the same switch as we do, you want it to have, when it's out, you've got power, and when it's pushed in, you lose power.
So here is the second to last piece. This is the joystick assembly. So we use something called lock line, which is used for like oil and water transfer, but it works really good because it bends and it doesn't move. So on the bottom of the lock line we have a size adapter and then a 90-degree PVC fitting, and basically this allows it so that we're able to just attach this to the WildBot and then screw it in from the other side. And then the reason that it's not on right now is because we want to, we still don't know if he's going to be right-handed or left-handed, so you'll have to make that decision once you obviously go to make this yourself. So on the top we used a large metal electrical box. We have a joystick, and basically it just uses limit switches. And I'll have a link in the description to where you can buy all of this stuff listed out on Amazon or wherever if it's not sold on Amazon. And then on the top we have a like wall outlet plate that we drilled a hole in so that it would fit the joystick. And then everything just screws in. You don't have to make any modifications to the screw holes or tap any new holes. The joystick that we picked has the holes in the right spot for the electrical box, and since those are standardized, you don't have to worry about that. For a cable, we used a Ethernet cable. Basically, the joystick has 5 like electrical lines coming out of it. The Ethernet cable has, I think, 7 connections. So basically, you just need anything with 5 or more connections, and you can go ahead and solder them on and then run it through, and then this will connect to the Arduino, which once we get it in the bot, I'll show you how that goes. So we're almost done with our robot conversion. So now we have the joystick ready to go, and we need to decide where we're going to put it on the actual wheelchair. So depending on whether or not they're right-handed or left-handed obviously depends on which side you're going to put it on. So what we've found is mounting it to this spot right here. This spot right here works really well because if you look down inside where the original joystick went, or the original like controller went, there's a hole inside here, right here, and that comes out into the inside, and it gives you easy access to plug directly into the Arduino. Once we get that plugged in, then we're going to move on to programming. So you guys don't have to make the program. We have the program already made, and all of that code will be in the video description. You can download that and run it, and everything should work just the same. So the very last piece is the seat. And the seat is really important because we take the time to make sure that we form the seat to exactly the child's needs and that it fits them exactly how it should. So what we found is that like using a bicycle seat, like for a toddler that you would attach to the back of a bike, that works really well because it allows them to kind of be cradled in, and it also has a harness. So then once we get the seat in, obviously the joystick is able to bend, so then we kind of just bend that to the perfect length so that their arm can reach it, but they can also still be strapped in so they can't fall out. If they were to run into something and move forward or just lean forward, they can't fall forward or anything like that. We can't show you exactly how to make the seat, obviously because it's made for each individual kid. So that is the one piece you'll kind of have to experiment with, but it's pretty simple. Just we can attach the seat to the original seat fairly easily with some nuts and bolts, and then it already has a harness in it, so then you just kind of have to figure out exactly where it needs to be placed so that the child can be comfortable. One of the last pieces we have is the controller. So you can use any generic PlayStation 3 controller. The code is made specifically for these. You can use any other controller, but the code will need to be adjusted. So basically, there will be a diagram going over what the different buttons do and how they can manipulate and control the wheelchair. The joystick allows you to take over control from the actual joystick that's on the wheelchair and to control it remotely through a Bluetooth connection. So if you were, whoever was driving it got tired or they were in a dangerous situation, you can quickly take over control and control them yourself. And then once you are ready to give control back, you can send the control back to the joystick on the actual wheelchair itself, and then whoever's sitting in it can control it on their own again.
And that concludes our tutorial on how to turn a Power Wheels Wild Thing into a wheelchair bot.
By the way, all these parts can be bought in the video description.